How we doing, peeps? So I've just finished a session in the park, just a woodshedding session, exploring some topics. So the people that have come to my sessions this term, there are three main motifs, one of which is the triple swing time step that everybody knows. The other is an extended cramp roll, and then the main motif is a back flap heel dig spank, or pick, or brush backwards, whatever you want to call it, right? So they're the three things. Now, that last motif that I mentioned with the back flap and the dig and the spank is also very, very compatible with dancing in a triplet style. So today, whilst on this board that you can see me sat on, I've done like a video, so I'm going to go and chop the best bits out. Hopefully there's a good few videos in there, like creations and stuff. But yeah, so people this week that I spoke to about improvisation, because again, you don't have to be an improviser to tap. However, in jazz, it's almost a prerequisite that you must improvise. And obviously, people have different preferences in terms of their improvisation. Like, you know, if I'm going to improvise, I'm like Howard Sims. I don't want anybody bothering me. I just want to make sounds and that's it. So, with improvisation, if rules are imposed on you, aka you have to dance to somebody else's tempo, or somebody establishes a swing or a pocket that you're not perhaps used to dancing like, you need to be able to adapt. So knowing roughly what people are going to play or how they're going to play it is really important. Then what I would recommend you do is implement Gregory Hines's philosophy, the late great Gregory Hines, rest in peace. He coined a phrase called improvography. Yeah. Now, tap dancers themselves are not just dancers or people with, like, you know, metal taps on their shoes, blah, blah, blah. They are musicians. They are jazz musicians as well. And you know, drummers, essentially. When you do improvography, you need to be equipped with a bunch of steps that you don't have to apply much mental processing and capacity toward, yeah, to do it simultaneously while thinking about what you could potentially do next that will fit with that. So as Gregory was dancing, a lot of the time he would go off and improvise, you know, pure improvisation, making rhythms and stuff. But what he said is that when he hears music in his head, it's like he's doing what he's hearing at the same time. So he's hearing it and he's doing it, and it's matched up, so it's perfectly synchronized. Taking it a step further, if that's not easy for you to do, then I completely understand. This is like extremely high level stuff to do as a dancer. So what I would advise you do is keep all of your improvisational elements, aka the parts where you're not thinking about anything, very simple. And then from there we can work towards adding in more and more things. And then as you add more and more things in, you want it to gradually lift the level of what it is you're doing, rather than push the best possible thing that you could be doing and just keeping on 100 mile an hour. That doesn't work, yeah? It's nice to accelerate and then decelerate and then accelerate again, and let the piece, the musical piece, expand and contract, expand and give a little bit of breath there. Okay, so I was saying this as well to a lot of students. I see this a lot with professional dancers, and I also see this with students and stuff like that, right? They dance so fast, but in my view, they're dancing extremely quickly because they're hiding a lack of musicality, yeah? So if you're doing so many beats per minute, yeah, or really fast tapping or whatever, great. You can do that, but I'm just saying that we're seeing a time right now where people are doing very fast tap dancing for a long period of time, and it just gives you a headache. Do you know what I mean? It's not got the space, it's not got the pocket for instrumentation. Like it's like they're fighting to be on top of the entire mix, yeah, as in the musical mix of all instruments put together. Everybody, when we're doing music stuff, needs to find a pocket. Now for me, I don't necessarily like to dance unless I want to dance. So there's obviously going to be times where I have to dance and I don't want to, but sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I want to dance well, and then sometimes it goes well, and then sometimes it doesn't under those circumstances. But what I'm saying is, if you concentrate on finding the pocket of like different types of tempo, my favorite tempo is 96 BPM, but that's only because I've got a background in hip-hop and music production. So for me, I'm very into artists like Jay Dilla. So again, he didn't just do 96 BPM, but 96, 88, 74. They're some of my favorite BPMs to dance in. Little bit faster stuff as well, I can dance there, but for me, I like to go and gradually increase the intensity rather than, you know, just stay there or open with a big number. You know, like opening with an introduction for me is what I like to do. And again, you might disagree, that's fine, you're entitled to do so. But yeah, when you're tapping, think about what it is that you're doing in respects to what tempos you're dancing to. You know, at certain tempos you might feel like, oh, this is really nice for me to do close work, yeah, and paradiddles and all that sort of stuff, and fast tap. That's great, cool, as long as there's a little bit of variation within that, breaking it up, a little bit of pause here and there, a little bit of picturesque moments, and then you're going back in, or like you're traveling along the room and then you turn around and then you do a little bit and then you move backwards, and, you know, adding like, you know, not vectors, traveling planes, yeah, so like directional elements to that, then that's great, you know. But don't just stand still and dance really fast and get off the stage. I would advise, think about spatial awareness, think about what you're doing, think about the different speeds that you might tap dance at, and practice improvising at the different speeds. That, long story short, will improve your improvisation. Now, when it's not your strong point, like I would say at the moment, I'm not really I've done a 45-minute show and I've done a 20-minute show on my own improvising, and they went very well, don't get me wrong. However, I wouldn't say that that is my natural inclination. So when I've got shows approaching like they are, yeah, I need to make sure that I'm well equipped to deal with the situation that occurs if I go off book. And actually, I'm tempting myself now, and what's the word? I'm forcing myself to do things that I'm not used to for personal growth. So for me, I'm jumping back into the improvisation, and things that I've been doing is writing ideas about what improvisations I would like to do. So one may be like a piece where it's very triplet based. So I've written all of the, so I get a little diary out or a journal, and I start writing down ideas of actions or steps that fit very nicely with triplets. Now, a lot of this that type of swing is triplet swing, yeah. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's just taking one of those notes out of the triplet, basically. So that's cool. Like, I can use those in and around my actual waltz style or triplet style sounds and steps that go along with that. So that's cool. I've collated a list. I have a little glaze over of it. And then I also rank each step that I do with a difficulty level. So maybe the hard ones might come towards the end, or I might do a conclusion of the introduction where I do a hard step, then chill out a bit, go back to some easy steps, and then run up again to the middle to give them another little moment of, ooh, that was good, and then, you know, the end, and then I'll do a big crescendo and a big step to finish it. Things like that. But I sequence those, and I start to play around with them, and I start to label the things that I could use for a triplet improvisation in a list. So I can look at it, then I can put the list down, and I know things that I could do if I so wish. So when I'm doing these steps, I often start from a very simple thing, and it comes from a feeling. Yeah, you don't just start dancing unless it's, you know, your routine to do that. If it's an improvisation or somebody's getting on the piano, you know, because musicians have breathing space and room to maneuver in terms of tempo, in terms of groove, in terms of this, that, and the other. So it's about listening and responding. But when you start, you make it gradual. That would be my piece of advice. Or if you are going to do something flashy, do it flashy and then just chill, chill, chill. Start building. Maybe coming into a little fancy thing, and one, and then picking up pace, and 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5, like this type of thing. That's what I really recommend you do. And then, yeah, maybe just looking at yourself doing things that fit the triplets, videoing yourself and getting that back for, you know, watching it back for, you know, analysis and feedback. Yeah. Let's switch over from triplets now and talk about something else. So if it's the 5/4 time, yeah, just feel the fives coming round every time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If in doubt and you don't know the full section length, just stick to the basics, which is the tempo and beats in a bar, and you'll be fine. Yeah. So with that, I tend to chill out. I tend to add a lot more space when I'm doing 5/4, because the irregularity of it for the audience, most audience members are just used to listening to 4/4 music, because that is the most popular time signature that you're going to get. Yeah, so most music in the popular sphere is 4/4 because it's very easy to comprehend and like rhythmically understand, you know, 6/8 and all this kind of stuff. Some people, they just don't get it, they don't like it for whatever reason. That's okay, yeah, but different strokes for different folks, you know. Popular music is popular for a reason, yeah. But when I'm doing the 5/4, what I want to do is approach it in a way that somebody that might not listen to 5/4 would like it, yeah. So for me, it's about keeping it very simple and playing around, mainly just staying with the beats, not really going any more filled than a triplet really. So I could do triplet swing and then like half beats, triplets and all that sort of stuff, remembering that with dancing we don't really speak in musical notation land. We normally talk in fractional beat systems, okay? And that's why a lot of people go 5, 6, 7, 8 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and a 5, 6 and a 7 and a 8, like things like that, you know. It's all coming back to the 2-bar break, counting to 8, which is 4 lots of 4 most of the time if you're dancing in 4/4. But with 5/4, for me, I'm just letting go. I'm just counting to 5, yeah. And when the 1 comes around, so if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, I'm gonna do something with the 1, or I might 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nothing. 2, 3, 4. You know, playing with that, creating suspense and stuff like that. Finally, when you're doing bouncy things, yeah, and syncopation, and when you start to do it upbeat, that's where it feels a little bit more okay. We're going into the Gregory Hines territory here and Maurice Hines territory. We're going into a little bit more of the, excuse me, oh my goodness, excuse me, I don't know why I yawned. Yeah, the Nicholas brothers, again, really quick, like the 4-Step brothers, people like that. the Condos brothers, you know, those people are really fast and really up tempo. So that's a whole nother thing. You have to think to yourself, okay, what am I going to do when I'm dancing like that, you know? That's when you start to get out the moves which are more airborne, I would say, like your wings and your maxi forwards and your pickups and your ripples and your firecrackers and your slides and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, there's a load of things you could do, especially like over the tops as well. That's a very important thing to consider. Yeah, and just think about what could you do to like get this basic. When you're dancing at a higher tempo, like you should have a double bounce. So bounce, 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 bounce. That really helps you to then get lift and to also transfer your weight. Yeah. So to round off this video, I'm just going to come back to the point of it. So improvography. Yeah, so that is the art of using choreographed elements potentially that you've got in your toolbox, and in and off the cuff fashion, you get them out whilst simultaneously doing another step. So you're lining them up in your brain, you're hearing the composition that you want to do, and then you're going to just play that composition. Yeah, so in terms of improvisation, it's never the case that someone is just literally making it up as they go along. Yeah, because they're getting a cue. They're getting a musical cue from what they're hearing, and they're also getting a cue from what they're feeling. Okay, so improvisation, yes, you can go off book, you can take risks, you can chop and change it every time. That to me is what the technical term of improvisation is. Yeah, it's not as if you haven't done it before, or if you have, it's a big risk. Yeah, it's more about having the freedom to choose whether to stick to the script or to slightly deviate from it, right? So like having trust in yourself, listening and taking your cues and your stimulus material from other musicians or preconceived ideas in your mind. You know, this is what I'm saying. It might not even be a step. It might be like, okay, I'm improvising, I want to go quiet now and do something really like quiet. Or someone might be like, okay, I'm feeling minimal, so they go from like dense tapping to something that is extremely sparse but nice, covering the floor, and traveling sequences and nice leg and arm lines, you know, just to stimulate the visual aspect, yeah, for the audience, because this is an audio visual medium that we deal with, and there's many different things that you can do to improve the multiple disciplines of which are contained within tap dancing. Yeah, so that was improvisation. That's my rant over. So over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see more of my thought process behind preparing to do major improvisations. Sorry, there's a fly on me. Yeah, major improvisations, yeah, in very different tempos and time signatures and stuff like that, you know. I want to do improvisations around acrobatics. So I once went on stage in Barcelona, that was like a street sort of stage thing, or like a bandstand, and there was like Lee Howard there, and my friend Mark Chichester, who's one of the greatest tap and Irish dancers I've ever seen. He's just unbelievable. He can do it all, yeah. And we all went out and started dancing, and yeah, I just remember doing some improv there, and those guys were really holding it down with the taps, so I decided to do some one-handed handstand hand hops, you know, like in time with the drum. You know, it's whatever you feel. Yeah, I remember seeing, I think it's outside the Cotton Club, it was either the Cotton Club or the Harlem Apollo, very old video of some young person tumbling down the street, like tricking outside of the venue and then going and doing a head spin. And I think this is like the 20s or the 30s. So, you know, none of these things are completely and utterly new. None of these things are exclusive to one particular dancing style. It's just they come to fruition through feeling. Yeah, so that's it. So improv, I'll be showing you the ins and outs of what to do and how to basically tap into my my theories, and I'll let you in on that and see if it helps you. It could help you, it might not help you. You might have your own theories, but I'm going to start laying out some blueprints for you guys. After that as well, I'm going to be having a look at explaining musical theory from a dancer's perspective. So like notation in dance, what different types of notation, different types of explaining what's going on in the music. So I'm going to be doing videos about that. So that should be really interesting for people that are looking for alternative ways to explain things. That might well help you unlock, you know, the next level in your tap dance journey. And then after that, I want to show more steps I've created, tributes to the great dancers. So continuing on their legacy as best as I can, you know, and I encourage all of my peers and colleagues who tap to do the same. Yeah, it's no point gatekeeping your knowledge to yourself, because at the end of the day, yeah, that's not the way to go. So the old timers that I spoke to were like, just show people how to do it. You know, like when Sammy Davis was learning to tap, he used to beg Uncle Bill, because that was the only way he was going to learn how to do his dance. He didn't pay him, he asked him. And it's like the hip hop culture mentality of each one teach one. So just pass it on. Also, if you're a learner, I would recommend showing, obviously not in class necessarily if a teacher's there. I mean, you can obviously help out, but you know, the teacher should guide your class. However, if someone else wanted to give it a go, you could always show them a step or two and see if they could do it, like, you know, shuffles or whatever. They might get up and, you know, give a decent performance. You know, they might have shuffles on lock. You don't know that. So it's about sharing. It's about being generous. You know, again, this concept of improvography that I've outlined right now is extremely important. Yeah, because it's basically Gregory Hines' legacy. That and his obviously incredible career. For me, some of my favourite parts of his career were the things that he got awards for or nominated for. You know, he had a hiatus where he wasn't tap dancing, and then he came back. And I believe, I'm not sure 100% because sometimes I lose my dates and stuff, but whenever he came back and did that Eubie Blake show called Eubie with the exclamation mark, and he was singing those songs around with Eubie Blake, that was just unreal. You know, and I think there was other things he was doing at the time in that show with Maurice. You can tell me in the comments if you've got more information about that, because I haven't seen it all. But yeah, that was incredible. And then when he played Jelly Roll Morton, he got an award for that, didn't he? I think it was a Tony Award. So like, he's an acclaimed actor, he's a masterful singer, great musician, and basically a jazz pioneer. Because improvography applies to our dance style. So our dance style is a type of music, and he just did a great job. He just did a great job whilst he was alive of being extremely generous. You know, if you see his clips, Gregory Hines classes or whatever, him in the studio, the way he teaches just brings everybody in. He's so generous, you know, he's not gatekeeping, he's showing all of his steps. And people are learning them, and he's like, I feel great about that. You know, he even says that about Savion Glover. He says, slightly frustrating how he does it, you know, 10 times faster or 10 times clearer or harder or whatever it is. But deep down, it gives him a great sense of satisfaction that he could have had that positive impact on the future generations. Yeah. So yeah, like a little bit of a ranting video, But yeah, I hope in the next sort of couple of weeks that people will sort of see and acknowledge the trajectory of where things are going. All right, because we're going to go on a journey, and this channel is about showing the journey, about how the focus shifts over the terms and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, also guys, there are summer workshops and intensives coming up, so if you check on the links on my page, there's more information. So if you go to the home tab, there'll be like a series of links. If you click through onto, you know, not the first link, I think the links below it, they're all of the different places that I'm at. There's actually more places than that as well. So I run my own sessions. So if you want to join my sessions for this summer, I'm going to start putting out a doodle poll, probably monthly now, on my channel. So if you go to the community tab, I'll put the doodle poll on there. If you fill out the poll with your available dates, and then basically confirm to me once done via my email or whatever, via the doodle notification, then I can reserve the room. I normally teach my own sessions in Limehouse at Cable Street Dance Studios, yeah, but I also teach in Holborn, yeah, I also teach in Mill Hill. I teach at multiple different places. So I teach one-to-ones, I teach online, that's very important. So I'm teaching a friend online at the moment, and yeah, so there is literally no excuse. I mean, I'm sat in a car park right now, like this is what is, I would say it's dedication, but it's not. It's dedicating myself to meditating. So me bringing this out here, as you're walking along with the board, you're like, oh, should I do it or not? Am I going to look like a, you know, am I going to look silly tap dancing on my own in the park? No. People walk past, they're waving, they're happy, they're like, oh, he's tap dance, oh, that's nice. You know, I'm in a quiet bit of the park. But, you know, everybody lives their own life. So if you want to do something, do it. Yeah, because nobody actually cares. Yeah, so for me, this is something that I have to do. I know it. It's just deep down. And I have to do some tap. I have to serve tap. I have to help people to learn tap and pave the way for the future. I'm very impressed with my students, by the way. All of the people that have spent years with me. Yeah, you know who you are, and I really appreciate everything you've done. So keep going, keep pushing, and I want to see more steps from yourselves. I want to also run a challenge. Yeah, if people have a step that they've made, yeah, based on any of the concepts or inspiration that we may have got to via either discussions between myself and yourself, or some people are even saying that they like some of my steps. Yeah, so if you're inspired by something, I want to see what you can do with it. Yeah, that's what you know, that's the concept, is flipping. So learning and then changing it. In tap, this is one of the art forms where we actively encourage people to copy. However, copying steps is not the same as copying a style. So don't try and look like someone when they're tap dancing. Just try and obtain the steps. And then, just so you have your own artistic integrity, it would be a good idea to change those and flip those. So yeah, basically Discord, that is a link on my channel too. So you can find the Discord link, you can join my server. And if you wanted to do online class with me, you can do it on there. You can also just post your clips of you tap dancing, and I would love to see what you're working on. You know, if you just put them on 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, do a little something, film it, upload it and send it to me. I'd love to see it, and I'd love to give some notes on it if that's something you're interested in. But anyway, this is the lecture over and done with. This has been Tap Dance Exchange, and I'm out. Peace.